If you're in Georgia, you're probably feeling a little bit of that pressure from the insurance rates going way up. If you're with Allstate, you're definitely feeling the pressure today. You may not have felt it as much last year, which we'll talk about here in a second, the reasoning that they're causing this rate increase. But there's a big problem in Georgia with Allstate specifically and a lot of other companies. In the last 12-ish months, Allstate has raised Georgia approximately 40%, which I kind of giggle at it because it's just unheard of. Like, you wouldn't expect. I had just done a video that they raised another state, I believe it was Illinois, 30%, and that was unheard of. So in Georgia, you're definitely feeling the squeeze. The commissioner is not happy. He doesn't have the control to overpower it because of the laws in Georgia. There's something called a dual rate, and I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure how that plays a factor, but it only allows the commissioner to deny actual minimums. So Georgia can say this is the minimum you have to carry, but they can't tell a company that they can't change the rate instantly. And that's what Allstate's done. They just turned around. Anyone that's on their renewal is noticing that was a $100 bill is now a $140 bill. Over time, they may have raised it a little bit before and a little bit later, but overall, within the last 12 months, you should be between a 15 to a 40% increase based on what Allstate has determined your rate should be. Now, this rate actually is going into force in a couple days. They're doing about a 25% sharp increase. So if you're in Georgia, you're likely searching and found this video. I'm going to give you some pointers on what to do next, what your options are. The first one is call your Allstate agent and go over many discounts. At the end of this, I'll show you a couple pieces that a lot of people are missing on their policy that are instant discounts. So if you love your agent, you don't have to switch. You can likely get some of those deals and overcompensate. Keep in mind, you might be a little frustrated that they didn't find the discount in the first place, but I am not your agent. I don't know what to tell you there. Sometimes agents miss it, they get busy, whatever the case is. I don't want to make the excuse, but that's their scenario. The other option is you could shop around. If you already are shopping around, I'll put a link in the description below. There's a couple companies that I actually would work with. If you want to fill out a quote, they'll actually reach out to you and make sure that they give you what rates they have. There's a handful of companies that are really competitive in Georgia right now, and those are the ones that we're mainly working with. The biggest piece that you could do and the biggest mistake that you could make are both the same thing. Don't necessarily change your coverage. Agents want to keep you on their books. They'll do anything almost to keep you in their operation. If I was an Allstate agent, I don't know what kind of impact I could expect, at least in your state of Georgia, that I could lose a third of my business, and that's not okay. So I'm going to do whatever I could to try to convince you to stay. That means be careful when you're talking to your agent, because I've had many times in the last decade, and actually I had one recently where I quoted somebody, amazing coverage. I found the gaps in their policies, and they were insured with the wrong company, and they were even insured with an agent that does the same thing I do. I ended up giving them all the information, said, here's what you should pay. It's this much. And he says, I love it. It's actually a couple $100 cheaper than what I paid today. And you know what they did? They took the information, gave it to their other agent, which is okay. That's fine. We're good. It happens. The agent found that same company, copied the coverages, and they ended up switching to that company. So maybe they're best friends with the agent. I don't know. I honestly don't care that far. But I get it. Like, as an agent, that's frustrating. I'm not saying leave the agent. If you like your agent, go to them, ask for the options that they have and what they can do to help you. If they can't, and somebody else can build a profile for you, get you the better deal, you might want to think about whether it makes sense to keep with the guy that couldn't do it for you and couldn't help you, didn't understand it. Do you want to trust that person when a claim happens? That's where they say you get what you pay for. Now, that's a little bit of a rant because I'm still a little bit salty about it. It wasn't, it's going to take some time. I hate it when that happens, but it happens, right? You give the advice. I'm glad that you got it. You get the coverages that are correct. At least I've helped somebody in general. I just wish I was the agent that was the one they were going with. To each their own. I want to give a little bit of credit to Allstate because the article that I was reading about this was the governor was actually upset about this, and there was very little that they could do. Not at least today. They are putting into place some new laws that may affect that in the future, but right now for Georgians, I guess you could say, you guys are going to be impacted, especially with multiple companies having this option to raise the rates. To credit Allstate a little bit, they did actually lower the rates last year. So during the COVID pandemic, they took a rate decrease to try to help everybody with that. So they actually took on additional costs. So what is technically a 40% increase likely is a 25 to 30% increase. Still not where I would want to be honest with you. It's just, I don't want to just have a fake article to show you guys what the big scary guys going after the people. It's not necessarily the case, although it is a huge increase. So it's hard to not to say that, okay, what's going on is a business. So that business has to be profitable. But I'm also curious how much profit is too much. That seems like maybe their loss ratios are really high. And if that's the case, why didn't they mention that when they were being interviewed or responding to this piece? They could have mentioned that as well. I don't see that. I get inflation. I get the cost went down, now they got to go back up. I get in the also cost of the actual recession, like everything's going up. The cost of mechanic went up several $100s this year. The cost of medical expenses have gone up. I get that part. But a 40% increase is a big number. I personally don't think it would be something I would be comfortable with, so I probably would follow the link below and shop around. At least know your options and know what other options are out there. So for in Georgia, you do have some options. You're not at least stuck in one position. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm curious to know if you think this is fair or if you think that it's just business, right? You got to make money, you got to make a profit. It's just their way of bouncing back and they'll even out. Do you think you're going to shop if you get a 40% increase? I probably would myself, but I wonder if Allstate has that brand recognition where they do have the loyalty. The piece that you may want to do next is they have something called DriveWise that'll actually save you quite a bit of money on your insurance. That's if you meet their guidelines. So go ahead and check out the video that I did review on their DriveWise to see if that is going to be a good fit for you. I'll put everything in the description below if you guys do want a quote. Otherwise, I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.